everyone, it's Rosie. Rosie here from the yoga studio in Bude. I thought just a quick little video about how to ease maybe any discomfort we have in our wrists. A lot of our poses in yoga involve us having our wrists on the floor. Not all of our weight may be on them, but sharing it with our knees, maybe in our hands and knees position, or our feet obviously with downward facing dog. So the first thing to remind ourselves is why our wrists hurt. It could be that you do have an issue with your wrists, in which case obviously please seek some medical advice. You may know that you've got arthritis in your wrist, carpal tunnel maybe you've broken a wrist or a thumb joint over the years and you've got a little bit of discomfort from it still. So we need to know why our wrists are hurting. And if you think about when we do put our hands on the floor, there's a very definite kind of almost 90-degree bend here in the wrist joint, which can be too much. There could be nothing wrong with your wrist, it's not happy going that far, in which case we need to make allowances for it. So there are lots of ways we can do that. The most simplest way is to roll up the front of your mat and just create a little lift. So that if we just roll the mat up a little bit, you can fold it, you can roll it. Then as soon as we put our fingers on the ground, you can see that your wrist is slightly lifted up. So that reduces that angle, or actually increases the angle in your wrist, if you like, but takes the pressure off it. So compared with being here, where we've got that 90-degree, we've got a little bit lift. And it also means we can really bring the weight into our fingers. You may have a wedge if you've got kind of yoga equipment at home. Wedges are great because again we can just lift that up so that we've still got the connection with the mat or with the ground, but we're not putting too much weight in the wrist here. Lots of things we can use as well. We can use, obviously, if you have a block, you can do the same thing, bringing your wrist or just literally into the palm, the corner of the block maybe, lifting it up. And of course we can use a blanket or a towel to again just create that lift. So we're softening this what could be potentially a 90-degree angle through the wrist. The other thing you can do, I actually don't have any here in the studio. I don't think I've got any at home actually, but a lot of weights have flat corners, kind of like I don't know if that hexagonal, I'm not quite sure. So if you do, then you can use these. I've actually got these here, another piece of kind of gym equipment. But again, and if you imagine that these could be your weights and you've got a flat side to it, so you can rest the flat side on the mat. Suggested is probably to have them going for the front of your mat towards your knees, rather than here, because remember we really want to rotate the upper arm bone out a little bit whenever our hands are on the ground or we're bringing the weight onto them. So again, this could be another way to do, just if you do our cat-cow, you can tuck your toes under, you can come into down dog, you could do plank, you could do all sorts of things. So lots of bits of equipment, some of them not necessarily particularly professional, if you like, just a rolled up towel would work. Roll up the front of your mat. And of course the other thing we can do is to go down onto your forearms, so not use your wrists at all. I've also got a chair here just to demonstrate, again, if we wanted to, when it comes to things like down dog, or even if it comes to doing your cat-cow, we can kind of do it with your arms here and still get that movement through. You can come up onto your forearms as well, and again we can do all sorts of things here without the hands actually going down onto the floor. Always remember, the idea is that we bring our attention to our core and let the core lift us up, if you like. So the temptation to dump the weight in our wrists is very strong amongst us all, whether we have anything wrong with our wrists or not. So the invitation to maybe protect your wrists, think about letting the sitting bones lift up, the tailbone lift up, the core lift you up, so that we're not physically thinking about dropping everything into the wrists. So maybe once we've found a comfortable way to do things without putting too much weight in your wrists, you could come back onto your knees if you're comfortable sitting in hero's pose, sitting on your heels, sitting cross-legged, and just do some little wrist curls. Again, there's absolutely nothing wrong with working your wrists. Just gentle, doing little circles. We can maybe just take the palm and just kind of take the hand on top of it to draw it down. No weight particularly, but just releasing. We can take the thumb with the opposite hand into maybe right into the heel of your hand, into the palm, into the thumb joint. Give a little massage. And then very gently just rest the other hand on top of it. So that, again, we're not pushing it down, but we're just maybe opening the back of that wrist. So again, if you've got carpal tunnel, then you may find this can be more uncomfortable than the wrist going backwards. So again, just kind of notice. I'll always remember to do the same on the other side. So we just pull the hand down, take the thumb with the other hand and just kind of massage it in there. And don't be shy, really push in. You know, when you pay a lot of money to go for a massage, it can be quite strong and not always particularly comfortable at the time, even though the effects are amazing maybe. So really use this thumb. And of course, those of you that have got balls at home, remember you can use the ball to massage, put a bit of pressure in there as well, and then just kind of bring the hand onto the back here. And maybe just interlace your fingers and just stretch the palms out. If that's uncomfortable, then keep the palms facing you. And maybe alternate. Again, just a gentle little exercise for those wrists without there being any of our body weight on them. So our wrists are really important for every aspect of our life, but in yoga especially, because we do spend a lot of time. We've got plank, we've got downward facing dog, side plank, all those variations on plank, and of course hands and knees, cat-cow, diagonal extension through the spine. All of those things involve us putting our weight onto our wrists. So we're invited to be aware, own up, don't push through the pain. We've all done it, but let's not. Let's remind ourselves to be a little bit more respectful. So feel free to use whatever equipment. If you have equipment, if you have another mat maybe, then you could just fold that up and use the edges of your mat here. Just allow yourself to lift up so that the weight immediately, it's a bit like putting high heels on. As soon as you put high heels on, then you feel the weight going into the toes and the balls of your feet. The idea about lifting up the wrist is the same deal. It immediately brings the weight into the fingers, into the joints, into the knuckles, into the thumbs. And that is what we're always asked to do. So protect your wrists, look after them, use your forearms, use anything you have that will just lift up the heel of your hand and the wrist to open up the back of your wrist, top of wrist, whatever you want to call this, and hopefully that will soften any discomfort you have. If it persists, seek medical advice, obviously, and just make sure that what you're doing doesn't aggravate it. So I hope you found that useful. Just want to have a quick little chat about how we can protect our wrists and what we can do instead. You can come down onto your fists as well, of course. I personally don't like that. I feel I'm always worried about kind of falling over, but I know some people do. They come onto their wrists here when they're doing the cat-cow. And we can get the same movements here, turn them around. But again, remember, ideally, the outer arms are very slightly rotated. And if we remember to try to get these arrows coming up the arm from the ground, then even without anything supporting the heel of your hand, you can really feel that you're taking the weight into the fingers, into the joints, into the thumb. Really push your fingerprints into the ground and maybe then lightly let the heel of your hand come down. So we're all different. We've all got different things, different little picadillos or a little way that our body works or doesn't work particularly well. So let's treat our body with respect, including our wrists. Thank you guys. I hope you found that a little bit helpful. Look forward to seeing you on the mat next time. Take care.